Dr. Eggman Robotnik, sometimes known as his alias as Dr. Eggman, is the main villain of the Sonic the Hedgehog universe. He has performed some of the most terrifying actions that Sonic's world has ever seen. Through modern and classic, Eggman has always been there, been a threatening force for Sonic and pals. But he's not only appeared in the games, there are so many different versions of Robotnik that have appeared throughout basically all of the Sonic franchise. Sonic is a multimedia franchise, and of course there is other appearances, such as his appearance in the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, which was more goofy, the sinister version in Sonic Sat AM, the version from Underground, I didn't see it, the amazing version in Sonic X with Mike Pollock, the alright / goofy version in Boom, and then Prime. Seriously, what was Prime anyway? But also a shout out to the Archie and IDW comics. These versions of Eggman are truly sinister. And a major shout out to the films, with Robotnik being played by the famous actor Jim Carrey. Perfect casting right there. But despite all of that, Eggman's a genius. He's got an IQ of 300, he builds so many impressive inventions that I don't really think people have talked about, at least I'm unaware of. There's so much. Eggman literally, as I said before, has a very high IQ. He builds all of these, a master in robotics and technology. He's built factories, massive weapons, fleets, airships, all sorts. Even a Star Wars ripoff of a Death Star. To build his massive empire known as the Eggman Empire and conquer the world. Now, I'm not here to talk about, well, how Eggman gets all of the money to build all of his supplies, or, well, how he's able to survive all of this, but today I'm going to address one thing. Eggman often, sometimes, is always on the front of the battlefield. Not in, like, normal form, he's normally in a battle suit. And Eggman has made a lot of battle suits throughout the years. And I'm going to be talking about them today. Most notably being the Mechs, which is probably going to be the boss fights. Now, for this list, I'm not counting other creations such as Sage and Metal Sonic, because this is just the Mechs. It can really be any mech the Robotnik creates, but there are rules. And I do apologise, I do have a bit of a sore throat and a cold, but these are the rules. The rules are, they must come from the games, so nothing from the IDW comics or the Archie comics, or any of the TV shows, just the games. The ones that are used to destroy Sonic the Hedgehog. So without further ado, let's dive into this video. And take a look at some of Eggman's most iconic mechs. Now, I know that this video might not have everyone's favourites, but keep in mind that these are my own opinions, and it does not mean that I would dislike a certain mech that you like. If you have your own preferences, then that's great. Let me know down below in the comments. But also, you know, and consider subscribing. Maybe perhaps if this video does well, then maybe I could make a part 2 to it. Who knows? So, without further ado, let's dive straight in. I'm also going to be talking about their designs as well, and how they look in the world of Sonic. Let's do this. Okay, so coming in at number 5, we have the Egg Robo from Sonic Lost World. Now, I will admit that this mech is pretty interesting. It's literally like a giant version of classic Eggman, while also being like a massive egg robo. It looks pretty cool, honestly. I like how it has this green cape design to it, and it's basically powered by, well, all of the world energy that Eggman's using in his energy absorption machine on the Lost Hex. And while it's cool, the boss fight itself is very generic. I do wish that there was maybe some more features. All he just does is launch out his hands and tries to fire lasers and then tries to crush Sonic. It's not very engaging, I will say. It's very similar to the Sonic Colors boss fight, the Nega Wisp armor, but I'll get to that one later. But the one thing I do like in this is the way how it's designed, how you can hit one of the legs, you hit arms down, and then you go up and you easily take out Eggman. I will admit that this boss fight is pretty easy. I would have maybe preferred if there was perhaps like something else that happens into it, like maybe he launches out some missiles you have to avoid, or well, just anything else that makes it a lot more interesting. I like maybe perhaps that bit on his chest could fire out a laser, and you have to avoid it throughout the way. Heck, even the ending of this fight is exactly similar to how you defeat the Nega Wisp armor. But I will admit, there is one thing I do like. I do like that twist of what they do with the arms, where after when you crush them near the end, they then go back in for a second one and you have to be on your toes. But besides that, yeah, it's not that great. You defeat it and then it's all over, and you get a cool explosion. Okay, so picture this. It's 1992, and you've just chased Dr. Robotnik and beaten Silver Sonic. And you get to see this. The Death Egg Robots. Yes, Sega really likes to reuse this thing. A lot. And I really like this fight. This is the original one. What makes this a really intimidating fight is that not only do you have no rings whatsoever, but you're basically one hit and you will be gone. Meaning you've got to start all over again. And that's insane. And I like how there's launchers that can launch out. The design as well is very similar to Eggman himself. I do think that when we've seen more of the Death Egg robot, like in a 3D model, it's a bit more different, as there's a lot more that people have added to it. But not only is this the only mech suit that Eggman's actually got as a toy, by the way, because there's actual figures of the Death Egg, but I just kind of wish that there was, I don't know, the mech itself is good. The reason why it's at number 4 is, well, every time it's brought back, there's nothing really new done with it. I mean, it was brought back for Generations, that was fine, I liked that. Even though Classic Sonic I don't like in that game, but yeah. And then they brought it back for Mania, I thought that was fine. They brought it back for Dimensions, still fun. Then they brought it back for Forces, just in the background, and I thought that was cute, a nice little Easter egg for, well, for fans, you know. But then they renamed the last boss Death Egg Robot. And instantly in my head, I thought that's not the Death Egg Robot. It should be called something else like the Egg Naga. Because it's shaped like a snake. Seriously. But whatever, we're talking about this thing. I like the colours and how bright it looks. And the fact it looks like Eggman, but with a jetpack and spikes for hands, just makes it more threatening, honestly. But, yeah, and not only do you have to avoid him going up into the air using his jetpack, but when he lands down you have a very limited amount of time to hit him. Plus you have to avoid the launching hands, launching spike hands, which is insane. But honestly, I do like the background in the level, how you're racing almost across the planet on the Death Egg. And then of course you have Generations, which Generations fight is fine. Nothing really new's been added, just kind of the same, really. I mean, it is different because it's all in 3D, and I gotta say it's a lot interestinger than it was before. And then Mania I think is really cool because it's in Green Hills, and the design of it looks better than I'd say Sonic 2 and Sonic Generations. I think this is the best one to date. But honestly, yeah, the Death Egg robot, it's fine for what it is. Okay, so this is an underrated mech of mine, the Egg Emperor. I feel like this guy does not get much love. The Egg Emperor first made his appearance in Sonic Heroes, and this guy is pretty intimidating. He's a knight, basically. He's got this lance, this awesome shield, and I'm surprised they haven't brought him back in any other kind of games. Now, I know that the Egg Emperor has appeared in the comics. It appeared in the IDW comics most recently, and it was one of the most coolest moments. I believe Eggman used it to defeat Dr. Starline, who just happened to use the mech I just talked about at number 5, which was pretty cool. And to be fair, this thing looks awesome. You have to destroy the cannons all around, and you have to take out the egg guards in the way, and then deal with the Egg Emperor himself. And while the boss fight itself is literally you mashing buttons and just throwing your teammates to get his health down, it's okay. I do wish that there were more attacks made to it, like maybe perhaps more. And then if you use your team blast, you just completely demolish the thing, and then it just goes down. It needed more missiles, honestly, to add to it. Nega Wisp armor from Sonic Colors. Honestly, when I saw this boss fight at the end of Colors, I actually really liked it. I thought the grand atmosphere was really cool. The purple design really helps make the mech stand out from other Eggman mechs, considering his primal colour is red. Plus, I like the tanks on the back changing colours when you fight off the mech, as it changes different colours depending on the wisps it's getting in, which is really cool. It launches out spikes, and it can fire out lasers. I will admit, I did wish it had more of an attack, like maybe in the front of it. It could launch out a massive kind of weapon at all, but I do like that the more you hit it, the more wisp allies you get. And I also like how it vacuums in more wisps as everything comes crumbling down. And it launches out a laser, and how the laser gets more faster every time, which is cool. And it launches out cubes, and it uses all of the different abilities that you used, similar to the Wisp abilities that you've used in the game, which was really cool. I loved this. And of course you can blast through all of the different bits. I will admit the homing attack bit is pretty easy to do, but honestly, I think it's all good really. This mech design is incredibly well done. I will admit it did get ruined by Sonic Forces' design, but I think Forces 1 is unique, as it's a different kind of colour, making it stand out a bit, as it's now powered by the Phantom Ruby, and it has 3 heads instead of 1, sorry. It still fires out the lasers, it's still in the Nega Wisp armour, which is really disappointing in Forces, but this is Colors. I actually really like this. It's easy as a boss fight, its design is simple, but I do like the final bit where you get all the wisps together, Eggman curses out Sonic, and Sonic summons all of the Wisps that you've been playing as throughout the game, which include all of the ones that you've played. I can't remember all of their names, but yeah, and then with the final blast, you can do the final color blast, completely demolishing the mech and sending Eggman into the sky. So for number 1, what is it? Well, I think it's pretty obvious what it is. A mech that is universally one of Eggman's most impressive machines to date. That's right, it is the Dragoon. This mech is one of my personal favorites. Its design is so good. First appearing in Sonic Unleashed and initially titled as the Ultra Hyper Prototype 1. But come on guys, its name is the Dragoon. This thing looks awesome. It's basically like a massive dragon with cool features. It has these cool little bits that you can attach on its wing side. It of course has spikes all over it, these engines of like a car, a machine gun for a hand, and a drill for the other? My goodness! Not to mention there's so much here that can be done. And there's quick time events with Hedgehog Sonic, and of course the Generations version where it had wings and a tail, making it a full-on dragon, which only made it even cooler. And I like that there's really cool features with it. Like for example, it has a freezing option. After when you rip out one of the 2 component parts, Eggman will lose control halfway with the machine, and he can control the drill, launching it out and sending it flying up into the air, crushing the platform completely, sending you crumbling into the core of the earth as the final battle prepares to take place. As Sonic tells Eggman to just calm down, like Eggman's not messing around, and then he deploys the wings. And I actually really like this, is these bits here where Sonic's, he can launch out freezing things, and you have to damage the button, and I think that actually works really well. Not to mention, the Dragoon can summon minions, which is pretty cool, some egg fighters. That makes it pretty awesome. And yeah, honestly I don't know which version of the Dragoon fight I like more, the Sonic Generations version, or the Sonic Unleashed version. But one thing I do like, I love the quick time events in the Unleashed versions, especially when you get them all right, and Sonic's just jumping forward and you're fighting off the Dragoon, and it just looks amazing. He jumps from the foot to one of the buttons and Eggman launches the drill, you jump and it just hits one of the buttons and he heads up towards, well, the area where Eggman's Eggmobile is, and he smashes it open and then does the same thing twice. And then I like this bit where he charges up all these punches and then he punches the glass, but then just rips the Eggmobile out and it just straight up throws it into oblivion. I think that is incredible. That was one of my favorites. But yeah, let me know down below in the comments, what's your favorite Eggman mech and why? Thanks for watching, guys.
I am the Egg-Man.